안녕하세요 여러분. 잘 지냈어요? How have you all been? How are you doing? How was your summer, guys? I bet all of you have done so many awesome things during your summer. You probably went on vacation or worked or visited your family or, I don't know, got a pet fish? How about learning Korean? How many of you actually sat down, whether it's in your room or outside, with the beautiful summery weather, and studied Korean or learned something new? I know I have. All jokes aside, I'm here today to help you guys figure out how to say that you've done something or there's been a situation during another situation or another event. And there are multiple ways to say that in Korean, and today we're going to focus on two of them, 는 동안 and 면서, and their difference, which is pretty much the most important part because sometimes you would want to use one over the other, so that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Let's start with 는 동안 because that is something that you can add to the stem of the verb in pretty much any sentence. You can use it when you're asking someone to do something. For example, 기다리는 동안 차 한 잔 마시세요. While you're waiting, why don't you have a cup of tea? Or please have a cup of tea while you wait. So there's the waiting element, and then there's the having a cup of tea element, right? So you're gonna be doing one during the other, which is why you need to use 는 동안. 동안 actually means while or during in Korean, so now it makes perfect sense because you have a verb, waiting, you add 는 to it, turning it sort of into a noun, and then you just add 동안, which means while you are waiting or during your waiting time, you're having a cup of tea. Similarly, you can simply describe the things you are doing. For example, 아르바이트 하는 동안 한국어를 공부했어요. While I was doing my part-time job, I was studying Korean. Or during my part-time job, I was studying Korean. So far, these two sentences included only one subject, who was doing those verbs. You waiting, you having a cup of tea, or me having a part-time job and studying Korean. But you can also use 는 동안 when you're talking about two different people or two different entities doing different things at the same time. For example, 엄마가 요가를 하는 동안 아버지가 핸드폰으로 축구 시합을 봤어요. While my mom was doing yoga, my dad was watching a soccer match or football match on his phone. Two different people, two different locations, two different activities, but they're happening at the same time. Therefore, we can put them in the same sentence if we want to, using 는 동안. So now let's look at the second way that we can link two activities that are happening simultaneously together, and that is using 면서. The only major difference between 는 동안 and 면서 is that when you use 면서, you can't be talking about two different subjects. So whoever is going to be doing two actions at the same time has to be one person, one subject. Because it can be an animal, a company, or whatever. You don't necessarily have to be talking about yourself, which you can. And you also don't need to be talking about someone else, like describing them. You can also give a suggestion or a command to someone, so speaking to a second person. You can say something like 밥을 먹으면서 말하지 마세요. While you're eating, please don't talk. Or please don't talk while you eat. In this case, the verb in the sentence, 먹다, ended on a consonant, so that's why we added the before 면서 to connect it, ending up with 먹으면서. But with verbs that don't end on a consonant and end on a vowel, you literally don't do anything special, you just add 면서 to them. 커피를 마시면서 책을 읽었어요. While I was drinking coffee, I was reading a book. Or I was reading a book while I was drinking coffee. So far, I've described sentences where I was talking about myself doing two things or telling another person to do two things. I can also easily describe what another person is doing, but once again, I have to be careful and I have to make sure that when I'm using 면서, I'm not talking about two different people. So I can't be talking about my mom and my dad. I can only be talking if my mom is doing two things simultaneously. For example, 우리 엄마는 요리하면서 항상 친구랑 전화로 얘기해요. Whenever my mom cooks, she always talks to her friend on the phone. That kind of sentence. Alright, so that is it for today from me here on Korean from Zero. I took all of the examples and all of the grammar from the Korean from Zero book number 3. All the links you may need are in the description box below, so head over there, and I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and I'll see you all sometime soon here on Korean from Zero. Bye! 안녕!